It is February 2026. Inside the Rawalpindi garrison, Pakistan's most powerful generals are looking at satellite imagery of Kabul. They are actively locking in on targets: ammunition depots, urban hideouts, and strategic streets. Defense Minister Khawaja Asif issues a stark public statement. He declares that Pakistan's patience has completely snapped. They are now engaged in an open war. Based on history, you would expect the target of this massive military mobilization to be their longtime rival, India. But the crosshairs are aimed at the government of Afghanistan, the Taliban. Decades earlier, Pakistan's own intelligence agency, the ISI, built this exact faction from the ground up. They actively trained them, heavily funded them, and provided them safe harbor. So how does a proxy force, engineered by a state to be its ultimate weapon, turn around and become its deadliest nightmare? To understand this, we have to rewind to 1994. On the dusty streets of Afghanistan, ISI officers meet with a religious teacher named Mullah Omar. They offer a straightforward deal. Pakistan provides the weapons, cash, and training. In exchange, Omar's faction seizes Kabul and follows Pakistan's orders. Pakistan's military planners had a specific goal in mind. They wanted strategic depth. By installing a friendly regime next door in Afghanistan, they would secure a vast buffer zone to protect their western flank from Indian influence. The ISI immediately flooded the region with resources. They sent convoys of oil tankers, massive shipments of heavy weapons, and turned domestic seminaries into recruitment centers. Within 2 years, this well-funded militia swept into Kabul and took the country. Then came 2001. After the United States was attacked and subsequently invaded Afghanistan, Pakistan initiated a high-stakes double game. Publicly, they allied with the Americans. Secretly, they were still funneling money and providing safe haven to the Taliban leadership. That covert strategy operated for 20 years. When American forces finally withdrew in 2021, Pakistan's leadership openly celebrated the Taliban's return to power. They believed their proxies were safely back on the throne. But Pakistan missed a crucial variable. They assumed a highly militarized force, driven by strict religious ideology, would act like a compliant political tool. Instead, that force was completely out of their control. While Pakistan was funding the Afghan Taliban, a spin-off group was incubating inside their own borders, the TTP, or Pakistani Taliban. These fighters attended the same ISI-linked seminaries and fought alongside the Afghans. But when Pakistan allied with the US in 2001, the TTP turned their guns inward. Their objective became the violent overthrow of the Pakistani state. In December 2014, TTP gunmen stormed an army public school in Peshawar, executing 149 people, most of them children in their classrooms. Now, the dynamic has completely flipped. After retaking power, the Afghan Taliban is actively providing safe haven and staging grounds to the TTP, right across the border in Afghanistan. Pakistan's military issues a final ultimatum to Kabul: hand over the TTP leadership, shut down their camps, or face direct military consequences. This explains exactly why Kabul is in a panic. The Afghan Taliban is stuck. They know they can't afford to anger the superior Pakistani military, but they also refuse to arrest their ideological brothers in the TTP. Because if attacked, those radicalized fighters will defect en masse to ISIS-K, triggering an uncontrollable civil war. Pakistan demands the elimination of a group murdering its citizens. The Taliban knows that eliminating that group will destroy their own grip on power. With compromise mathematically impossible, a violent collision was the only remaining outcome. In mid-February 2026, the border heavily fractures. After TTP militants attack a Pakistani security checkpoint, the Afghan Taliban responds to Pakistani retaliations by launching a massive, highly organized military offensive straight across the Durand Line. Pakistan answers with overwhelming force. Their air force bombs targets deep inside Afghanistan, striking brigade headquarters and ammunition depots in Kandahar, the Taliban's spiritual birthplace. Then, on March 16th, during the month of Ramadan, a Pakistani airstrike hits an addiction treatment hospital near Kabul. Over 400 people, including children and patients in their beds, are killed in the rubble. That strike triggered global outrage and forced a temporary ceasefire. But the illusion of control was entirely shattered. The proxy and the master are now locked in a brutal cycle of endless retaliation. Militarily, this war is a perfect stalemate. Pakistan controls the skies, but they cannot mount a ground invasion. Afghanistan's mountainous terrain heavily favors the guerrilla tactics the Taliban have spent decades perfecting. In fact, the Taliban has an incentive to keep the conflict alive. By standing up to a heavily armed neighbor, they rebrand themselves to their own public as legitimate national heroes defending Afghan sovereignty. Remember Pakistan's original goal back in 1994? They spent 30 years and billions of dollars to ensure Afghanistan would serve as an impenetrable wall against Indian influence. Today, that exact same Taliban government is signing massive construction contracts, building infrastructure projects, and establishing lucrative trade agreements with India. State planners thought they could weaponize extremism and direct its path. Instead, by cultivating a fire to burn their rival, they wound up setting their own house entirely ablaze.